Okay, everyone, this is Julie with Everyday Miracles Podcast, and today I am so excited to introduce my guest to you. She has an amazing testimony. Her name is Lynne Holcomb, and I'm going to let her take the floor. I want, Lynne, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then just proceed right into your amazing story.
Julie, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, because I've had the past 3 years have been such a journey and such a wonderful, miraculous story. So thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I love telling people this story, and I love living it. I have been a personal trainer and a Group X instructor. I taught kickboxing for 25 years and was in the best shape of my life. And we went to an ACC tournament because I'm a big Clemson Tigers fan. My whole family is. And we went to the ACC tournament 3 years ago here in Charlotte, and we were at a tailgate. And my daughter looked at me. She goes, "Mom, you're yellow." And I thought, that's not good. And miraculously, there just happened to be two med students there who looked at me and said, "Well, don't, try not to make me panic," but said, "You might want to go to an urgent care." So my husband and I left the tailgate and went to try to find an urgent care. Nothing was open. So we went to the local emergency room, and they told me that my pancreas, my gallbladder, my stomach, everything else was very, very irritated and swollen. So they did a CT scan, and found a mass on my pancreas. Mm-hmm. And after the scan, they also found a couple of spots on my liver. So the doctor came back into the room, and his nurse closed the door behind him and stood up against the wall. And I was like, okay. So basically they said I have a tumor on my pancreas, and I knew immediately pancreatic cancer. And I remember hugging my husband in that emergency room so hard and just squeezing it, because I knew, and I was just, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And that moment, it was one of those, it was almost like a little bit like an out of body experience, because I thought, he can't experience this with me. No one else can actually experience this with me. They can't do anything for me. But I heard in my heart, over my right shoulder, I heard God say, "You didn't see that coming, did you?" And he said, "Well, I did, and I've got this." And the next thing I heard in my heart, just clear as day, was, "You see that man sitting across from you? That's why I had you marry him 34 years ago." Oh, wow. It was this year's 34. So thus began a journey. They checked me into the hospital and ran all kind of tests. And the beautiful thing about it was the men in our church showed up and surrounded my hospital bed, laid hands on me, prayed over me, anointed me with oil. And I told them, pray for healing. I don't pray for comfort. Please pray for healing. That's what I believe. I'm supposed to pray for, and that's what I believe I'm going to get. So we came home and had to wait a while for chemo to start. In the meantime, I changed hospitals and went to Levine and met with a surgeon. And the surgeon walks in and said, basically, "Why are you even here?" And I said, "Because I heard you could cut this out of me." He said, "No, it's spread. You have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. There's nothing we can do. You have 3 to 6 months to live." Oh my God. And I just remember, my sister was in there, my husband. I don't think my daughter was. My father was. And I just remember a cloud. Just I couldn't see out of my peripheral vision. And a nurse navigator came in there, and her name's Joanna. And she walked me around, showed me all the infusion area. I was like, I don't belong there, But after walking through there in a complete state of shock, she held me by the shoulders and she looked me in the eyes. She said, "Lynne, the doctor's diagnosed, but that's not the reality. The reality has to do with your attitude and your faith." And that changed everything to me. I just remember looking at that sweet face thinking, okay, God, that was you. That was my angel that you sent me. So um, I met my oncologist, and he's a very, very straightforward guy, but doesn't tell too much. He's not a touchy-feely guy, which I appreciated. I just wanted, just give me the medicine. Just give me what I need. Give me what I need. So before I started the chemo, and when I was, of course, everyone gives you coloring books, and I had some great coloring books. I had one that was scripture. So I decided to go up in my bonus room by myself. I didn't like to be by myself much at all. I had a hard time. People had to be in the room with me when I was taking a shower because I had a hard time being alone. But I chose that time to be alone, and I was coloring this scripture. I couldn't even tell you what it was, but I felt like I needed to just lie on my hands and my face and just surrender everything to God. So I did. I just laid flat out, hands, face to the floor. And I said, all right, Lord, I'm ready. I'm ready to see you. I love you so much. And I've had this relationship with you my whole life, and I'm ready. And I heard him say again in my heart, not yet. You're not done yet. I remember lifting up my head saying, really? Oh, okay. So that started just a whole new different, I like to say that started my fight. I taught this wonderful, wonderful kickboxing class at the Morrison Y. And one day we're sitting here watching Christmas shows, of course, that's what we did. My dad and I were sitting on the sofa, and my husband was here. And I got this text and said, watch this YouTube. And my class and so much of the Morrison Y had gotten together and did a kickboxing class for me. They all dressed in orange. And the Clemson fight song is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, CLEMSON. Anyway, at the end of it is fight, tigers, fight, tigers, fight, fight, fight. They did that, but they said, fight, Lynn, fight, Lynn, fight, fight, fight. The director prayed over me. He prayed over healing. And I do remember just sobbing my eyes out. But the next day, I got this big, huge card from all of them who had signed it. They had personal letters on there, and the whole thing was fight, Lynn, fight. And I know where that came from. So that's been my theme throughout this entire thing. That was 3 years ago. And I don't know if you remember, I told you the surgeon told me I had 3 to 6 months to live.
Amazing.
So it is. And I just remember trusting, just thinking, I just trusted him. I never learned too much about it. I didn't want to know statistics. And I later on had a wonderful integrative oncologist pray with me and say, don't read the statistics because you're not one, and you're going to skew the statistics. So these are the positive messages that I've had. My family has surrounded me with positivity. I remember my son one day when I was feeling a little like, I need to prepare him a little bit. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, you know you're going to be healed, right? And I said, well, honey. And he looks at me and he goes, no, you're going to be healed. And he said, what you had to be so big and so insurmountable that when you're healed, only God could get the credit. So that was another one of those things where I just said, okay, let's keep going. So I went through 8 months of a very strong chemotherapy, and I had an oncologist tell me the only reason I was doing so well on it was because I was so healthy before. And he said, you've been training for the cancer you didn't yet have. And I thought that was spectacular and a good reason for people to just be healthy because you never know what's coming. Mm-hmm. So that lasted for 8 months. And the only reason I had to come off of that chemo was because I got neuropathy in my hands and feet pretty bad. So we came off of that and started another, which I forgot. I think I had my fingers in my ears when the oncologist told me I was going to lose my hair because I was at the beach one day washing my hair and it just started falling out. So I didn't expect that. But again, God was so merciful. He had my daughter, my hairdresser, my sister, just this incredible group of women surrounded me, and we all went and drank champagne and shaved my head, and then got wigs. And so that ended up being something that was so traumatic, ended up being a sweet, joyful experience. That chemo lasted when I started this second chemo, my oncologist had told me there's a clinical trial that just came to Levine, and we're hoping it'll be approved in 4 weeks. This was in August. I started the new chemo around August. Every month I would come in, I'd say, have they approved it yet? No. He said, max 4 weeks. Well, January, February, March, and I was having pretty good scans, nothing tremendous, but, no shrinkage, but everything was steady, which he was happy with. Mm-hmm. March came around and I had a scan, and it showed that the tumors had started growing. I had tiny bit of shrinkage before, but this time they found a new tumor and it was growing. So he walks in, he said, your scans don't look good. We're going to do a clinical trial. I said, okay. So he gave me a choice of one, and the phase 1 clinical trials are basically what they call it, ICU, because no one else has tried this. It was 3 different medicines that have worked on other patients, but not pancreatic, and they hadn't ever been put together. 2 were working very well with melanoma, and the other one was a chemotherapy. So the amazing thing is this clinical trial that we've been waiting for since August got approved 2 weeks before I got my bad scan. Wow. So that, to me, and from the time I met with my oncologist, I remember asking about immunotherapy, and this was 2.5 years before that. And he said, unfortunately, there's no immunotherapy that'll work with pancreatic cancer. So when this came about, I thought, well, this is what we've been waiting for. I had a choice between 2. He said, the side effects on this one are harsh. They are very, very harsh. The side effects on the other one are not as harsh, but we kind of don't have as much confidence in it. So I said, oh, we're going for the gusto. Let's go for that one. So I went and had, first of all, I had to wait. I had 2 weeks full of testing just to make sure I qualified. And that was a liver biopsy, an MRI of my brain, eye tests, blood tests. What else? EKG of my heart, because all these medications can really affect those areas. So passed with flying colors, thank goodness, and started the immunotherapy. I was so thrilled. I just felt like this was going to work. And I would go every 2 weeks, and then I would have to take I think I'm telling that right. Sometimes it gets confusing, but I would have to take the chemo pills every night. Yeah. And 7 days on, 3 days off. So we did this just, hopeful. And it's funny, after the first infusion, though, my face broke out in the worst acne, I should say, sort of like acne I've ever had in my life. And I called my doctor and I said, I think I have leprosy. What is wrong with my face?
Oh, no.
The neck fleck that's coming. This is awful. And it was very, very painful. Mm-hmm. And I just remember looking at my husband saying, I couldn't live this way if this is going to be part of it the whole time. So went to the doctor. He put me on an antibiotic, doxycycline, and it cleared up. Thank God. So that cleared up, kept with immunotherapy. I got my first scan back. And I remember him walking in the room with another oncologist and saying, okay, you've had 20% reductions of your tumors. And he kept going. I said, hang on, what? 20% reduction of my tumors? He goes, yes. I said, did I hear that right? Because I'd had no reduction of tumors. It was all, like maybe not. So we jumped up and down. So he said, go ahead, go back and have more of the treatment. So I did. And my next side effect was horrible itching. My skin itched horribly. I was clawing my skin all during the night, and it was like under my skin. So we had to come off the clinical trial, go on steroids. It cleared up. We started back up, and the itching, we got that under control. So last January, almost a year from now, I developed something called pneumonitis, which is an inflammation of the lungs. which if you let it go too far, you're not going to come back from. So I didn't want that to happen. So we had to stop the trial and put me back on steroids. And coming off the steroids and then being on no treatment after 2.5 years really dropped me into a depression. And sweet Lord again rescued me, and I got some medication and felt better in 2 days. That was great. Mm-hmm. So the great thing is, the scan after I stopped, every scan since then had been more reduction. We got down to 85% reduction. I know it was incredible. My phase 1 nurses were just, what? They were just amazed. And I loved telling my Facebook prayer buddies about this and just giving God the glory for it, because this doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So the next scan after I stopped the treatment, the doctor came in and said, we can't find any evidence of your tumors. Sort of, he said that. He said, wait, there's one spot on your liver, but the radiologist says that he doesn't think it's cancer. He thinks, it's something else not to worry about. Wow. So, I mean, really. And I had a stent put in, so I would have to have an ERCP every 3 months. And my gastroenterologist had done a test before that, and he told me the same thing. He stopped. He said, we can't find anything. So it was just miraculous. And I just remember walking out going, what just happened? So that was in March, and here it is December. And I've had scan after scan after scan with people praying, and the doctor said, this has never happened before. We don't know what to expect. This could go 2 months. This could go a year. This could go 5 years. This could go forever. We don't know.
Wow.
But he went from saying when the cancer comes back to if the cancer comes back. And now he's saying, Lynn, how do you feel after this? How do you feel now compared to your life before cancer? I said, back to normal. He said, normal. That's what I wanted to hear. So I'm a little, they haven't approved the treatment because I was the first of 30 to get the treatment in the country. And we don't know what the other patients' response has been to this, if they've had the same response that I have. So they don't know if I'm an outlier but my prayer now, because I have been healed, and my prayer now is for the researchers and the doctors and the nurses and everyone, that they will figure out a way to get this to more pancreatic cancer patients, and that it works, and that pancreatic cancer is just a thing of the past, that once you're diagnosed, you get this and it's gone. Because more and more people have popped up with this. There's a great community of people who have been diagnosed with this, and God has given me the sweet, sweet blessing to be a messenger of hope. Because like when I first got my diagnosis, it was, there's really nothing we can do. People, we could extend your life a little bit, but when they call me and I tell them what this clinical trial can do, don't give up. Just don't give up. And God doesn't want you to give up. And he's just been so sweet through this whole thing. I had a great relationship with God before, but now it's a conversation all day about everything. And it's just I'm going to sound like a corny Christmas person, but it's a wonderful life. It really is.
Not corny at all. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I wake up every morning just so thankful, and I don't take anything for granted. Mm-hmm. And it's so sweet. I will say one of the greatest blessings from having cancer is when people tell you they love you, they mean it. And people tell me that no one is afraid, they used to say, love you, pat you on the back. No, it's I love you. And I get to say it back and mean it. And it's so freeing. It really is. I don't worry about what people think about me anymore. So that's another sweet little freeing thing. But it's been 3 years. December the 4th was 3 years since my diagnosis. And I plan to be here for another 30, 40, and help it, letting whatever they need to do to find the cure and to find what works. And I'm thrilled to do it and happy to do it. And so happy to give this message of hope, because miracles happen. They do. And God will use you in that miracle, and you can help other people when you experience that miracle. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. And don't take it for granted, and take advantage of it. And thank you, Julie, so much for letting me talk about it.
Oh, thank you for coming on and sharing. And I do want to say too, for our listeners, Lynn, I don't know if she mentioned this specifically, but she actually goes to cancer patients, and she comes directly to people that are going through what she has gone through, and she's giving them hope. That's what she's doing now. I think it's amazing. And I'm just so humbled that you've shared this. So we hope that congratulations on your 3 years being so healthy. And I'm just blessed today with this. So just best wishes for the rest of your journey. It's so inspiring and giving us all some hope today. So I so enjoyed listening to this. And I hope for anyone that's listening that was also inspired, I hope that you share it, because there's someone that there are people that need to hear this. So thank you so much, and God bless.
God